Hello, welcome everyone, one and all, to our second post Zeldathon Echoes Q&A session. We're glad you're here. My name is Duggernot. I will be your host this evening. I use he, him pronouns if you like. I'll jump in to describe if you really enjoyed Zeldathon Echoes real quick. We do have a Patreon if you want to directly support our events. You can also have your name in the credits and lots of cool other perks as well. You can check us out at patreon.com/Zeldathon. And also, if you missed maybe some Yeti merch and you want some merch, we also have a merch store at zeldathon.com/store. We've got lots of cool things to check out there. So those are two great ways to support these events. But first, let's also introduce ourselves more in depth. I've got lots of wonderful Kinstone folks with me to describe what they do and how long they've been around and what they did for Zeldathon Echoes. And we'll start over here with Basunify.
Hi, I'm Basunify, the audio guy, and I've been here since 1995. No, nothing rhymes. Sorry, I am Basunify, and I started with Zeldathon Champions as my first one. I kind of came in on a whim where someone accidentally invited me, and they decided to be nice and make good on their accident, and it's worked out really well since then. And I've kind of since then been trying to make audio work and sound good, and it's been a fun adventure and a learning experience always. What else was the questions?
What is your weapon of choice?
Sorry, I only there for a little bit of time. My cat was just absolutely scared.
But also, what did you do at Zeldathon Echoes? Game runs or shifts and things like that?
Basically, just mostly audio, and tried to help teach others and keep things running and solving the crackles. And you know what? I got to play Triforce Heroes with like everyone. It was a huge surprise. Everyone was so happy to play with me. It was wonderful.
Yeah, that was really cool. All right, I'm Duggernot. I joined with Zeldathon Cures back in holiday 2016, so I've been around 6.5 years. And during the marathon, I played some Breath of the Wild with the Shetland homies, we called ourselves, because we had too many names to fit on the schedule. And I did some producer shifts this marathon, which was a first for me, and it was very cool.
You did a great job, by the way.
Make the marathon. Thank you. Yes, I'll talk more about that for one of your lovely questions later. But that's what I got up to this marathon. Lots of behind the scenes, making sure things didn't burn down, making sure people got dunked on time, stuff like that. So that's what I did this marathon. Oh, and my weapon of choice, I found a Tingle plush, so that's what I'll use.
Oh,
MC, please.
Yeah, no. Hi, I'm MC. My first marathon was Zeldathon for charity. The first marathon. And I'm one of the directors of the event, which means I do a lot of the high-level decision-making. I make sure the budget isn't burning. I try to make sure that we're remembering creative stuff, and I also occasionally, like at Zeldathon Echoes, try to play. I'm right now, ever since Zeldathon Forces, I had a personal mission that I want to play every Zelda game at least once during the history of the marathon, like a full game run. So working my way through, I got to play Link's Awakening 2019 at this most recent Zeldathon Echoes. And I was part of the director shuffle for Tears of the Kingdom. And then I also did 2 more impromptu segments of Tears of the Kingdom, which was totally awesome because I didn't have the director stealing the controller from me, trying to take snapshots of everything. And my weapon of choice is this hammer. It was a good segment. This hammer was very important to me. It's always important to me. It's called Hyper Tough 16-ounce claw hammer.
16 instructions. That's a whole
like
pint.
It's a 16 ounce, like it's a burger.
Yeah. Or a beverage. All right, Maeve, please.
Hi, I'm Maeve. I've been coming to Zeldathon since Response, which was in the winter of 2018. I've been part of the Zeldathon community since St. Jude, which is like almost 10 years ago at this point.
Hey, me too.
let's go. And then, so I was primarily doing music and audio this marathon. Was kind of shadowing Bassoonify a little bit and learning the audio setup. And then also playing music with all the rest of the musicians. And then I also was I got up at 3:45 in the morning to play Sudoku, which I think was worth it. It was very fun. And then I also helped take the marathon hostage to play Oracle of Ages at the very end. So that's what I was up to.
Yes, lots of people are very curious about that, so we'll answer some questions regarding Oracle of Hostages later.
What's your weapon?
What's your weapon of choice?
Oh, my weapon of choice is compressed air can.
Let's go. Very good. All right, Duck.
Yes, hi. I'm Infantino Duck, he, him. I have been watching since Adventure, have been a member since SideQuest. I was a guest at Forces, but actually joined the team for SideQuest. So this Echoes was actually my second in-person marathon, with Ascent being a hybrid. But yeah, at Echoes, I ran a segment of Tears of the Kingdom, helped get us back on track, and that was very fun. I am also one half of the actual set crew, me and Melviker with Clinkett directing us. So I built the dunk tank and built the door frame that we used a little bit, and stuff like that. And my weapon of choice, I'm going to be contrarian and say the best offense is good defense. So I have the Deku Shield.
Ooh.
Very
good,
wise.
very
Very
good.
wise.
Yes. All right. And finally, we have.
Hello, I am Legos Jedi, pronouns he, him. I have been with the marathon. Gosh, how do I want to say this? I joined MCG Dev for Hope to help finish out the donation platform, and then started attending. Was that Response? That was the next one. Recovery. Recovery was the next one. Whatever summer
Recovery.
2016 was.
Yep.
And was doing dev stuff for that. But more recently, I've transitioned into being broadcast co-lead with Luke, who's running tech for this stream right now. Shout out to you, Luke. Thank you for putting everything on behind the scenes here to make this possible. For Echoes, I was kind of one of the main masterminds behind tech, doing a lot of pre-planning for it to make sure that we've got all the equipment that we need, all of the gear, that everything would be wired up to make sure that we could actually put on the marathon. At the event, making sure everything ran smoothly, trying to figure out why there was a weird audio crackle that we couldn't hear for some reason. What other random stuff was I doing? I played drums during Goblin Music Hour when it should have been Goblin Music 15 minutes.
And you almost died.
We better talk about that.
I almost died.
Oh, we're gonna
Yep.
talk about that.
Oh
Yeah, that can
boy.
Be, that can be
Yeah.
among the questions.
Bring back that behind the scenes question, Doug.
Yeah. I can bring that from the
and-
graveyard.
Participated in Oracle Hostages as well. My weapon of choice is this Samson S Patch Plus 48 point balanced patch pay. Yeah, I think I can do some damage with this.
Yeah, that one's a true weapon.
Probably the best one as an actual weapon.
I have a
The
hammer.
hammer, I think.
Okay.
The hammer is also quite good.
Hammer is also good. I forgot.
All right, thank you, and thank you for bringing up. We have Luke on tech side, and big shout out also to Clinkett for doing a lot of the back behind the scenes organizing, gathering questions and stuff like that. There's so much more that goes into any one of these broadcasts, including this one. That people do a lot of thankless jobs out there. So thank you to all the people behind the scenes that have made this work. All right, let's get into our questions here. First up, we have from Hop Up, who asks, where did the decision to switch to game-themed marathons come from? And they also listed Wild and Champions and Echoes, of course, naturally were from games specifically released, like very recently, or DLC. I also did some research on Bokoblin myself and know that Ascent and Daybreak and now Dimensions also have a game theme. But MC, could you please give us some insight into when that idea came about?
Yeah, I mean, so for a long time with Zeldathon, we kind of just named the marathons after like a gimmick that we had for the marathon or the charity, like Zeldathon Relief, or we've like for Zeldathon Deluxe, the next event after Relief, we did the Deluxe Adventure System, like with special like bonus unlocks, upgrading games. And over time, like when Zeldathon St. Jude happened, was the first marathon I think we had with A Link Between Worlds. But we didn't name it after A Link Between Worlds. We didn't theme it around Link Between Worlds. It just happened to be there. Ultimate Zeldathon, no, I forget which one it was, but I think Child's Play was the first one with Skyward Sword in its rotation, and that wasn't themed after Skyward Sword. But as time went along, we realized we have a golden opportunity of promotion for our own event when it's like a new Zelda game's coming out that doesn't happen every other day. If we were paying attention, we may have been able to have a Triforce Hero themed marathon, but we didn't get there. Instead, we got Zeldathon Wild to celebrate Breath of the Wild, which also helped because we were raising for the Wild Foundation. It was kismet, that entire event. Except for the internet. That wasn't kismet. That was a tragic disaster. Plug the Ethernet on the other side of the wall. It was that easy. But Zeldathon Champions rolled around and we're like, well, we can just theme it after the DLC, another big release. And after that, the idea kind of slipped away, and I wasn't really wanting to theme it after marathons at all. Like the marathon theme was more about the color of the event, like blue or green. And you know, we didn't really care about like theming around a game. Like, and even with like Wild and Champions, we didn't do a lot in terms of like leaning into the theme and like, because we wanted to be a celebration of the entire Zelda series. But after Zeldathon Forces, and once we got through a lot of the pandemic ickiness, and we started to think about our next event, we were talking when at that point we had brought in Klinkett as a new director, and I believe the decision was made around then that we should theme it around Skyward Sword HD, which had just came out. And so it's like, you know, why not? So Zeldathon Ascent came for that reason, and we kind of liked being able to theme it after a specific game. We were doing the same thing with side quest at that point. Rather than theming around a game, we had Take to the Seas or Fantastic Journey, which were like had certain like visual and sound elements and gimmicks that we could tie into that theme. And so after Ascent, it kind of just fell into place. That it was all kind of working, and so Daybreak happened, and then Echoes, and by the way, getting to Zeldathon Dimensions, which is A Link Between Worlds themed, was kind of a battle because the original pitch was me going and saying, all right, let's do a Zelda 1 themed marathon. Let's keep it easy. We can just reuse our stuff and like mostly kind of have it be Zeldathon Echoes 2, because we can just just do more Tears of the Kingdom stuff. And the directors were basically like, MC, no, we got to keep going. And I was like, all right, I'll settle for A Link to the Past. That's still generic enough. And they're like, how about Link Between Worlds? And I was like, you forced my hand. And yeah, so that's how we got there, basically.
You drive a hard bargain. All right,
Yeah.
very cool. Thank you for that insight. Our next one comes from Murix Bob, who asks, how was scheduling runs and segments handled? And asks some clarifying information, like, is it based on the shift someone wanted to be on, or do they suggest a day and time and get slotted as needed? And as the member of the segments team, I can chime in on this one, but this is there's a lot that goes into actually making the segments happen. First, we ask as early as possible, like, hey, please submit your runs. Like, we need typically like one for every mainline game, and we're always looking to see like the most interesting type of run that we can see. So for example, TB had a really cool Fortnite Battle Pass themed submission from Majora's Mask, and we were like, oh, that's very interesting, and we've never done anything like that. So that kind of brought it out ahead of the other submissions. Stuff like Majora's Mask or Ocarina of Time also has generally more submissions, and stuff like Phantom Hourglass or Spirit Tracks maybe less so. So what we are also very excited for Flying's run that combined Spirit Tracks and Phantom Hourglass into one very short segment that didn't need to beat those games. So we always ask people to, if they want a run no matter what, you could play the Oracle games, you could play the DS games, or anything that doesn't have a lot of footprint with a team. You could play Triforce Heroes, for example, or everyone could, like that. And then in that same form, they also put in the times that they'll be there. Like, oh, I'm arriving late to the marathon. I'll only be there the last 5 days, or I'm leaving early, and I prefer evenings and stuff like that. So it's a huge optimization problem that the directors and segments team sit down and just like bang our heads against a Google Sheet until it works, and we find the perfect schedule for everyone, and then we send it out, and they say, you made a mistake, or it's not perfect, or something changed, and then we make the second perfect schedule. We fix it a little bit. So it's a lot of work, it's a lot of meetings, but we did really nail it this time, and we had an incredible schedule, like jam packed with super cool segments. Anything else, MC, to add to that?
One thing I want to add is we had a meme a couple marathons back where it was from Avengers, where Doctor Strange is looking into a bajillion different futures, but it was Jamie instead, and it was as Iron Man comes up and is like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I looked into the future and saw every version of the Zeldathon schedule. How many did you see? 1.8 million. How many work?" And that's basically how it is. That is basically how it is. Someone shifting their run that's an hour long, they're like saying, "I can't actually do it that day," ruins everything. The entire marathon is ruined, and we have to start from scratch.
Yeah, we really like if like two people that have the same length of run need to switch, but otherwise, like if you have to scoot everything like half an hour, like that really messes with it, because we're like, okay, jam train, we want it to be kind of at this time specifically, and so if that gets moved too much, it's a lot of fun to finally solve that problem, and it's very stressful until it's solved. But that's how it generally goes, is we try to honor everyone's preference for time and day, especially like when they're around and at the marathon is very important. So that's the kind of information that we try to get from people, and we do like reach out and like double check and say, hey, has anything changed, stuff like that, just to account for flux that does happen in real life. All right, next question. Did you ever discover what happened or what was causing the mic buzzing? A very popular, fun thing that people were doing by the end, causing it on purpose. But Basunify, as the audio legend, please let us know what happened.
So the first question is, which buzzing was it, right? And it's a good lesson that like
There were two.
yeah. Where are you hearing the problem at? Sometimes you're listening on your headphones there, or you're listening at the speaker that's there in tech desk area, or like, but you still maybe not even hear anything because the problem is introduced later on. So, it's always important to be listening to the stream as well as other different parts along the chain, so to speak. So the first one that happened, it sounded like, chat's always like, oh, there's a noise, there's a buzz, there's a something, but like that, what kind of quality is it? Because what kind of quality is that sound can kind of give us some clues what it is. And this one sounded like a stutter. It sounded packety, right? It sounded like there was almost like a sample rate of one size trying to fit and stretch into another sample rate. That's what it kind of reminded me of the most, or a buffering type issue. But we checked those and it was fine. And it turned out to be, what was it? Luke, I think, found that forum post from like 2020, that there's like a very niche issue of using that specific outboard gear with OBS to go into the webcaster that somehow introduces this weird intermittent problem. So we ended up, was it something like that? Is that correct, Grant? I'm not.
Yeah, basically tracked it down to like a Windows update caused audio issues, and like, well, we can't like fix this by changing a computer in the middle of a marathon that we're using to put everything together on stream. So
and it's crazy because
fixing it by that.
we had a very
exactly.
similar setup, right? Last year at Daybreak, right? Pretty much the same equipment.
I think so.
So it's kind of
Pretty much
interesting, how something updates and then something changes and things don't work.
We had the same exact hardware.
I remember
at the Runway Guys Coliseum, we were using that exact hardware,
Yeah.
that exact computer, and that exact web presenter, and didn't have it.
I
shouldn't have done those Windows updates on setup day.
Yeah, you also
Never
you swapped
before.
cables like half a dozen times. Yeah,
So the way
if I remember,
to, like, track it down.
Yeah, we did try and
I
isolate
remember,
different
like,
areas. Oh, sorry, Maeve, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, because I remember I was on audio and I kept like people kept saying what's happening. I was like, I don't hear anything in the monitor headphones. Then I had to pull up the Twitch stream and be like, okay, it's happening on the Twitch stream. So it's something like between the mixer and the computer or something like that. And then like Grant helped track down to like it was specifically something in OBS. And from there we just had to like theorize. And so the best thing we could do is just restart OBS every so often.
But the permanent fix ended ended up being because
Temporary
it happened
fix.
more consistently, right? Like it was like a 48
Right, the
hours,
first time it went
16
away for
hours,
it went away for
10,
48 hours,
right?
and then the next time it went away for 6
But
hours.
not to take up
and
too
then it
much
came
time with the
back, like-
question, I'll sum it up really quickly. We ended up just doing like a go out from the board into the web presenter. The audio skipped OBS. Sorry, MC, what was your hand up for?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do we know if the audio crackle made it to the hyperdeck recording?
Yes,
It did.
it did. Because I
Dang.
pulled the program feed out and put that into a TV and turned up the volume, and it was there. So it was in the
Oh,
actual
dang.
SDI line
I can
coming
take it
out of
out.
the computer. Yep.
I got some tools. Send it my way.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was just
I'm just gonna
say
troubleshoot
because
right now.
then I was like, the solution could have been we just start streaming off of OBS instead. But no, if it was in the hyperdeck, we still would have lost our recordings. It would have been fine for the stream, but
Yep.
man, that's
And really quickly, crackle number 2.
Isn't it?
Thank you, Natsu. Thank you, Natsu was able to start like, causation correlation. Is it always true? We don't know. Sometimes Natsu was the first one to notice though that when someone would have their cell phone up near the back couch mics, these really cheap mics, the Behringer C2, we got them during daybreak because it's like, oh, we need something very bright to capture a back couch mic because we're gonna have masks on. Back couch can be even heard very well. So they're just these very, but we had meat couch back then, a leathery couch. So keep that in mind. That's important. So she noticed that when people had their phones up, it was suddenly like a weird noise. So what's the quality of this noise? It sounded kind of like that wireless interference, like intermittent back, old 2010 when people get a text message and everyone's computer speakers would just start going off every few seconds beforehand, right? So there was a time it was like me and Stone on tech, and he just zoomed the PTZ in on the mic so we could just see what was happening, and like we're listening for it, and then we heard the noise, and I read him like, stop, okay, where are your cell phones right now? And TB's like, oh, right here and stuff, and like, did you guys get any thing? Did you get like any sort of thing? He's like, oh, I just got a phone call. I'm like, that was it. And then like Zach and TB like just called each other's phones, and I panned the mics like left and right, and you could watch it on the VOD. Like as you would move the cell phones through the mics, they would start to like you would hear this, like it was this amazing
Testing in production.
like
fun
ASMR.
thing. The things I love that we can do on Zeldathon at way late night because it's just a little playground at that point. So
I remember asking. I asked the chat at that point. I was like, "Hey, are you guys enjoying this? Should we stop?" And the chat was like, "No, this is great." And I'm like, "All right, I'm out of here." You
See, there's
you
different
guys
types of
content.
noises.
Good content.
Very comforting click, But what happened there? We had Zonai couch. Maybe it's not so much the exact charge in a Zonai couch, but maybe the fabric of the material. Maybe people, getting on, getting off builds up a static charge. The couch isn't empty for a while, so it doesn't have a chance to discharge. So it started happening more frequently throughout the marathon. We noticed that as we put the mics closer and farther away, that the interference was stronger from the cell phone. We did a lot of little experimenting. Shadow was on the game running at that time. He enjoyed it as well. Everyone had a great time. So we just replaced the mics with the MKH40s and had a very expensive back couch solution.
Yeah, Shadow is very, very happy to have anyone take over like the bit running on the back couch. So that's awesome. Someone even clipped, I think, the very first time, like the mics did like a super loud noise. So maybe that could be a donation sound.
Oh no.
It's just harsh noise donation sound.
Yeah, they called it like the audio fart or something like that. So anyway, you mentioned
technically every time someone sends a
PTZs.
donation, it might help. I don't know.
Yeah, true. You mentioned PTZs, Basunify. Thank you for that, because that segues perfectly into our next question, which is who or what was BMOS Billy? Let's go, Legos Jedi. Let's hear it.
So BMOS Billy and BMOS Bob and BMOS Barbara were a set of PTZ cameras. That stands for Pan Tilt Zoom cameras, robotic remotely controlled cameras that Plinkett spearheaded renting for this event. Anytime that we had like an alternate shot of couch that we like looked at donation station, or we like zoomed super in on like Jiggy's face to get a reaction during the Minish Cap resizer shenanigans, that was one of those cameras. And that was a completely new thing for this marathon that, like I said, spearheaded by Plinkett. And I think, I don't think I was necessarily hesitant about them, but I don't think I realized how much use we were going to get. I knew we were going to get some use, but I don't think I really understood going into Echoes just how much use we would get out of them. And I think I mean, I can only speak for myself, but I think we would lose something if we didn't bring those back for the future.
No,
I agree. Yeah,
I
those were
hated
great.
the idea of the PTZ cameras. Repeatedly it was like, MC, we should buy a PTZ, and I know how much PTZ cameras are, and I was like, no, we're not doing that. We're not spending money on that. What's that gonna add to the marathon? We're not gonna do that. And so Clink was just like, I'm just gonna rent them and just prove MC wrong, and she did.
Yeah.
I love BMOS Billy.
I think my favorite use of it was on Ganon 11's Wind Waker run, and he was like, "I wish I could just hit a button and it would zoom in on me." And Grant was like, "Give me 10 minutes." And
It
just,
literally
like,
took like 10 minutes.
yeah, and then for the rest of the run, he just had like a zoom cam that you could push whenever he said anything dramatic. That was probably my favorite.
Which
use
is a
case.
very good callback to a bit from one of the side quests.
Yes.
I
And
think
that
it
is-
was a lot of it was a lot of improvisation and the person on tech just kind of trying to figure out funny things. I think in the
Yeah.
future we're definitely going to come up with a lot of automation that can make some
sure.
bits really work.
Yeah, like having tech like in on the bits and like making bits too, because Basunify also made like a dynamic sensor beep button like out of nothing. Was like, okay, and like just started routing audio cables, like, okay, we're doing this. Like, so that's been very cool to have like tech really in on the bits too. And y'all are killing it with
And
these
dev team,
segues
too.
because yeah, shout out to dev team.
Oh my gosh.
They're very cool.
Yeah.
Like, well, yeah, so perfect segue for our next question from Seth E asking, how hard is it to plan a bit? And most of us, I think, are ready to answer this one, but let's start with Maeve here.
Yeah, so I think it really varies. There's different levels of bits, I feel like. So, for example, there are some bits that are very improvised and you just like say a joke and then it just spirals out of control faster than you can possibly imagine. I think Goblin Hour Ham Train was probably the biggest example of that for us because we were like, whatever, we'll just take suggestions and play until they tell us to stop. And which just ended up like feeding into the goblin aesthetic of it, where eventually no one was telling us to stop and we were just doing whatever. And then like MC and Clinkit coming in like really surprised, like what are you guys doing? And then accidentally knocking over a good portion of the set with our like shenanigans of standing on chairs. And luckily this was like the final day, so like well, we should never destroy the set, but if you're going to destroy the set, the final day is probably the best day to do it. And then on the flip side, there are bits that take a lot of planning. So I was involved with creating a lot of secret sounds behind the scenes because I like doing a lot of audio, like editing stuff. And I know for the Uno bit, Clinkit was like, I want to get people reading every Uno card in silly voices. Can you get that done? And so I spent like 3 hours just like borrowing Lucata's mixer and like microphone and just grabbing people from chill room and being like, would you like to say some Uno cards for me? And just doing that for a while. So sometimes there's a lot of planning and there's a lot of behind the scenes in them. And then sometimes it just gets out of control. So
Yeah, you also did. They talked about the Hank Hill sound you made out of nowhere very quickly.
It's because I was on audio and one of the Zelda Universe guys just did a
The Laughing Boy.
perfect Hank Hill impression. I was like, get me a clip of that. I am making that a secret sound. Executive decision. And
Yeah, the turnaround on that was incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
it was,
mean,
it
if
was
someone-
during the
we-
segment that it got added and
Yeah.
donated a lot.
Yeah.
we've had a few times that's happened because it's you get a Twitch clip, you put it into the Twitch clip downloader, download an MP3, clip it, choose a dollar amount, and then it's in there. So, you know, it's fun. I like making the secret sounds.
Yeah, definitely. What about you, Duck? How about your hard to plan bits?
Yeah, the bits vary is so true. There's some segments that tons and tons of time goes into, and then there's other ones where so I was on Team Goombas technically, but I was staying up late throughout the entire marathon because I had an early morning run, and so I spent a lot of time with the Wizrobes. And there were several nights where Clinket and MC would come out and be like, all right, what's tonight's bit? And then we would just sit there and hash it out. And in 30 minutes, maybe we'd have something thrown together, ready to go. I think my favorite was actually the HGTV bit where we redid the back catch set, because that was literally Clinket and MC brainstorming for a minute. And then they got their idea, and then they came out, and there's a group of us just hanging out, chatting. And they come out, and they're, all right, we're going to do HGTV. And we all just pounced on it. And like me and Mel were like, we'll get you tools. We can have tools, real tools for props. Alyssa Loves Horses Girl was there. She's a actual licensed realtor. And she was like, oh, I'm going to get you color samples, and I'm going to get paperwork put together. Like, we overproduced the heck out of this teeny tiny. We just want an excuse to redo Back Couch a little bit.
We're like, we got to
we're ready
redo
with
Back
the
Couch.
background.
We got to redo Back Couch, but we're live, and we don't want to wait till a break because it's the middle of the night. And it was that was the best, because that was like literally like we were having discussion, because if you saw in the background of the marathon after HGTV, there was the Zonai hand activation thing. It looks like that one that you can't see behind me. It's not lit up, but it's much bigger. And so we were like, well, how are we going to get this on there? And move the projector and put the door frame in during the marathon. It was like, well, the whole thing with Wizrobes was Wizrobe TV, where we were trying to do like something inspired by television every night. Kind of, we were trying to do a twist on 3 in the morning that we did at daybreak. And gosh, I tell you what, we did Who's Line the one night. We did sitcom scripts the one night that were auto generated. We did fighting game stuff, and the HGTV was not planned. HGTV was not part of my plan. I forget what that night was supposed to be. It was not HGTV, but we decided that was the best use of our time. Also, I want to just follow it up by this appreciation I got that was given to me, but it's for all the Wizrobes on our appreciation board for consistently pulling off great bits during typically low energy hours. I kept this because it's supposed to be Chef Jacqueson doing cooking, but we didn't get to the store in time, so that worked out. Yeah, bracket was a good one. It wasn't a bracket. It wasn't about the bracket.
Yeah, there's just so many different ways to like approach bit creation. Like there's the super planned ones, like Clinket worked with the dev team for a month to get the Minish Cap like shrinking and growing thing working, and like just came to them with an idea. They were like, all right, let's do it. And then they exceeded it beyond her wildest expectations. And that's not always how it works. Like sometimes they just happen, 30 minutes before you're hashing it out, like Duck was saying. That's kind of how we were doing pixel art at one point on stream, because Jiggy was like, well, I want to see people donate every number from 1 to 100. We're like, okay, well, let's make a grid for that so they can see how far they are. And like, oh, just Xing out a grid is boring, so let's add pixel art. And that's kind of how that grew, kind of organically. There's also it happens by accident as well. Like the Cold Ones stuff was just a funny thing that we did. And then everyone's like, that was a very satisfying sound. And then Dark made it slow and made it impossible to get, basically. And it was a 1 in 169 chance to unlock that special slowed down version. And so it unlocked everyone's like gambling instinct. Yes, MC. Yes.
I sent the clips to our contact from Liquid Death, and they loved them. So I just want you to know that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Let's go.
That's awesome. Oh, I'm so pleased with that. That's
so good.
Great. Yeah, and then like the Steam train that I did where I was giving out my entire Humble library, which I've almost found everyone. I've reached out to get some PayPal emails, but
how many games did you actually give away, and how many are left?
Let me open up my spreadsheet here. My spreadsheet. I think I gave away.
Sometimes there's the post planning of the bit, like with this one.
Yeah, yeah.
For every Zeldathon bit, there is a confusing spreadsheet somewhere about it.
Yeah, you ignore the amount of post work required for the bit.
My notepad file of every Uno card checked off is still on my computer.
Yeah, but that started out as I wanted to buy a copy of a game and then like reveal each letter in the code one by one for donations, but like that didn't work because the game I bought was DRM free accidentally, and I was like, oh, whatever. Like, I'll just start giving away games. And so, like, a lot of it is spur of the moment. Like, Gannon and I, he was on my entertainment shift for my segment. We tried to plan things, and then we just ended up winging it every time, and it still was super fun. So it's very hard. And at one point during Twilight Princess, we tried to ask chat to design our bits for us, and they refused. So now you know how hard it is to plan a bit. Then Anonymous asks, what bits or gags did you have planned but weren't able to do? Let's start. Everyone listed here, so let's start with Basunify here and just go around.
Oh man, there was one that we were really thinking to be really good for just a late night thing. I may try it for the next one because it's more apt to the theme of the marathon. Maybe it's kind of VR related. The reason I didn't end up doing it was I've been really going down the deep dive on like my own personal tracking and optimization of my VR setup, and just realizing how much wireless interference can really get in the way, and thinking about how many routers we have. And it's like at a hotel, there's going to be so much interference going on. And then how much things like, oh, you can get a Quest. That's great. And you don't need base stations, even though I have a lot of base stations. But with a Quest, it hates big rooms because it can't find the walls. So it might uneven your floor and do all these things. So I'm like, maybe I might work on something for next time. We'll see.
Yeah, that's the trouble with this question. I almost cut it because, like, we do want to save these bits for later, maybe. But I can mention that we didn't use the green screen quite enough for this bit to work out. But I did buy Ganon an entire like spandex Green Man suit, essentially. So maybe that can make an appearance later marathons, and he can be invisible and doing funny things on the green screen. What about you,
That's
MC?
something that's on my to-do list for next marathon, is to just make the green screen easier to use and more like intuitive, so you don't need to like grab me or grab somebody else from broadcast to be like, hey,
think
set
we
this up
only-
so I can use it.
Yeah, I think we got to
Definitely.
use it, like, we only got a handful of uses out of it, but there's potential there.
Oh, for sure. I
Yeah.
think every use of it was
I'm
incredible.
Hopeful for the future.
I'm glad I got my usage out of it, like with Who's Line and the fighting game tournament, the bracket. But the instead of like revealing gags that I planned that it wasn't able to do other than Chef Jacqueson, which we've already teased a little bit. I just want to say sometimes planning bits doesn't work out. And one thing that I think that I learned from my producerships this marathon is that having ideas before the marathon are good, but if you try to schedule them in, you're going to have a bad time. For example, talking about the Steam code giveaway that we just had, or the game code giveaway. It's midnight. It's real Wizrobe hours. So I walk into the stream room like, all right, time to produce my bit. I'm ready to start preparing my auto generated sitcom idea. I walk in and I just see Clinket on the floor, surrounded by printer receipts on the beanbag, like writing things down. And Doug is like, "You just want a copy of Ark Survival," and I'm just like, "All right."
I got him. I got the receipts right here.
Receipts in hand.
I'm like, what's going on? And the thing's like, this is great, MC. This is the bit of the hour. And I'm like,
we have a bit.
I'm like, all right, well, call me when this is over, and I got something for you. And it got delayed. I eventually got to do it that night. I scaled it down a little bit, and also they were trying to make it a bracket again. So for me, it's not about bits and gags that I wasn't able to do, but sometimes it's about when can you do them, even during a late night shift, like midnight to 4 a.m. Sometimes there's just too much stuff going on, which is good. I'd rather have that than not enough stuff going on. So, oh yeah, we had to do Uno Dos that night as well. So
yeah, that was it. You're like, we're like, oh, it's time for Uno Dos.
Yeah, because I was supposed to do sitcom bit at midnight, but then I couldn't do it at 1 a.m. because it was Uno Dos time. So I planned it for 2 a.m. instead, and we had to do that before 3 a.m. because 3 a.m. was a game transition. I don't know, it was something.
Yeah, you got to be flexible. You got to, like, they talked a lot about improv and yes and mentality at yesterday's Q&A, and that's very much what it is. If you see someone just really cooking out there with a great bit, like, you can just let them go until it kind of loses steam. All right, Maeve, you got any bits on the back?
Yeah,
burner?
I think I don't think this one's gonna make it back. The one that I had in mind. I think there's a lot to be said. Like, it's really good to like keep pushing a bit and everything, but there's a lot to be said about knowing when a bit is dead and you need to stop it, I think, which I think is a very underestimated part of bit planning, because sometimes things. So the example I have was actually a bumper that I was trying to put together. So it wasn't on live stream. I have this like super old minivan from like 2012, and I'm probably getting rid of it between next marathon, which is why I wanted to do this bit where there's AV ports for the DVD player in the back of it. And I wanted to play Super Smash Brothers in the back of my minivan and call it Smash Cab, which I think is an excellent idea in concept.
It has
It
layers.
was not working out when we tried to do it, because we had to position people with cameras in like the back seat and the front seat, get two people to like be playing Smash in the middle seat. My car's air conditioning was broken, so it was like hot in this car. I had to like run around trying to borrow a Wii from somebody, and eventually like we were trying to record stuff for like 15 minutes. That was like, everybody involved in this is not having it right now. We have some footage. We might try to edit it into something worthwhile, but I think that footage is dead, honestly. So I think sometimes there's an attempt and it's just not working, and sometimes you have to just let the bit die. And it like Chad's saying, in theory that sounds really good, but it needs a little more planning, and sometimes you have not planned enough for the bit you are trying to pull off.
That's fair. All right, what do you got, Duck?
So on setup day and into morning of day one, the majority of time that me and Mel spent was actually building the door frame, because we wanted that thing to be solid. Neither of us are contractors. We've not built frames before. So we put a lot of work into making sure that thing was solid. And then we realized that the weights we got like camping weights, that are like a U shape, were too small to fit on the 2x4s on the back. So we had no way to weigh this thing down. And while it was very hefty on its own and would stand on its own, I knew that people would want to Kramer through the door, a la Seinfeld, and would just be hanging on that thing. And so I was like, I do not want this to be put on set until we have back weights on it. And we never got around to getting the back weights. So the door bits were limited to, I think Danny Music did something with it. And then the other thing that went wrong is Mags tried to open it the wrong way and ripped the door off the hinges. So then we just had a frame, no door. So we did actually eventually incorporate it into back couch, which I appreciated. It got some screen time. Next marathon, we're going to get some nice long screws, put those in the door, and we're going to get those back weights on it. And then it can go on to the actual set, and we can do all the sitcom bits we want. But we focused so hard on this door because we were like, we know people are going to love this for set. And then it never actually made it on set. It just made it on back couch for like 3 days.
Amazing. And that segues nicely into some set design considerations. Which was the worst set piece to work with, Duck? Anonymous asked.
I actually I have multiple answers, and people can pick what they think is the worst. Doug, I know you can chime in on this one.
Vote now on your
the
phone.
floor of the set is extremely heavy. It's so heavy.
Yes.
So just moving that thing
day,
in and out.
Yeah,
there was
on setup day, like we had an awesome amount of like delegation and like a lot of people that like we're splitting up the work, and I was surprised to find that I was in charge of assembling the set. So I got to interact with the floor quite a bit, and you're right, the floor is a bear. It's pretty tough to deal with.
From a building perspective, definitely the door, because again, neither of us are contractors. We'd never built a door frame before. That was very scary for us, and we wanted it to be good. So that was just difficult. But also the dunk tank ended up being a lot more fragile than we were expecting. If you saw my dunk, the fact that the swinging mechanism completely fell apart. So that was the one like surprise. Like we weren't expecting the PVC to be the issue. We definitely expected like building the frame and getting it functioning would be the issue, not the PVC just staying together.
Yeah, the flusher.
Yeah, I'm glad it only like
Awesome.
truly fell apart on me when I was there and could fix it.
Yeah, that was very, very fortunate. Well, you were there a lot for them. I could always call on you or on Mel to
Me and Mel
fill up the
both tried to
buckets
be on
whenever we
standby
were doing
whenever
a dunk.
possible.
Yeah, so that was awesome. All right, we have one here for MC. So time to put on your director hat here a little bit. How has the charity event landscape changed over the last couple of years, and how much have you needed to adapt?
Well, first of all, I want to say yes. I did activate my standing desk because Tim Cook told me I need to stand up or I'm
Ooh.
going to die. So I did that.
Shout out to Tim.
But yes,
thank you.
let me regard the question with the proper amount of respect. So it's interesting because we've reached a weird point where before, one of the things we used to talk about a lot was it was sometimes hard to contact charities and explain what we do. Now we have an interesting problem where we have a lot of charities coming to us, and we have to say no sometimes, or usually what I say is, we'll add you to our database, which we do, and like so we have a list of charities that are like, these are charities that would like to work with us one day. But honestly, we have so many things coming through that we have to do things like side quests if we want to like raise for different causes. So that's one thing that's interesting and different, is that charities now get it a lot more, which is really great. So we don't have to like beg to fundraise for a charity. Instead, they're coming to us and saying, how can we help? How can we make it happen? Which is great for us. But on the inverse side, I got to say, it's been a little bit harder, especially monetarily, because fundraise or running these events costs a lot of money. We have to not only get the venue space, we pay a hefty amount every month for the pod storage units. We pay for our digital storage, like our Backblaze account, and for Google Drive and our domains and our web hosting. And that's all stuff that's all the time. That's not even getting into like when Grant says we need 50 SDI cables, and I'm just like, okay, or
when
says we
MC
need
earlier. When you were earlier like, you gotta make sure that the budget isn't on fire. That's my fault. I'm the reason the budget is on fire. I'm sorry.
It's me.
It's like 30 TVs, and we do stuff now like with our wellness team, where wellness team has their own budget, and they say, hey, we want to get some bean bags. Can I'm like, okay, well, here's your allotted budget. Tell me what I need to put in my Amazon cart. And these events have gone very expensive, but that's okay, because that means we get to run them better. That means that the people who come here are happier, and we're putting on a better event. It's because we're able to afford things like the PTZ cameras, which I didn't pay for because Clinkit did it, but in the future when Kinstone does pay for them, costs a lot of money to do that stuff. And at the same time as our costs are going up, companies nowadays have been a little bit more strict with their money, and talking to companies saying, hey, would you like to partner with us? We're great at promoting stuff. Even when you don't want us to promote stuff, we will promote it, and we will sell it, and we sell stuff good. But it's hard because at the same time, a lot of the people who want to like give us money, they don't have the power to. A lot of the marketing people are like, sorry, our budget is tapped. We can't do it this time around. I'm sorry. And even some of our longstanding partners have had to be like, sorry, the company dynamics have changed. So I'm going to end this question with, a lot of things have changed, and that's why we opened up our Patreon account. Go on over to patreon.com/Zeldathon so that way we can afford bean bags and cameras and the storage and the hotel venue and the necessary things. Please, but if you want to.
Yes, if it's within your means, you can get some cool stuff for it too. We all signed postcards at the event. I signed them on Teardown Day very, very late. So there were very few places left for me to sign my super long name. But we made it work. Taylor's name kept ending up like weirdly like everywhere. And got in my way a couple of times. Well, like Taylor was just inconsistent. So I found a spot, and then like 10% of the time Taylor's name was there. I was like, what is Taylor? What are you doing? So yeah, Patreon, do that. All right, we're gonna jump into we're halfway through the questions and almost all the way through the time, but maybe we'll go a little long like they did yesterday as well. But this is one that folks at home can participate in as well if you're paying attention, Mags. Welcome back. Glad you're here. But we will be. Let's all opine whether we are more of a day crew team or team night crew. Team day crew, team night crew. What do you think, Basunify?
Team night crew. Well, it depends on perspective. If you just woke up or if you're staying up, right? That's a dumb thing. But I feel that, like, I love the 24-hour marathon, and sometimes you just got to put in your time to that late night to, sometimes it's a sprint, but sometimes it's a relax, just and give us a little chill down time. But you got to keep it going.
Definitely. I feel in my heart that I'm very night crew. This marathon, I was on noon shift, noon to 4, so I was kind of rocking the day crew, and then whenever I was on couch for some of the evenings, like for Majora's Mask and for Twilight Princess, which was like 10 p.m., like some sort of very night crew stuff was happening, and people were like, "It's not nighttime yet. What are you doing?" So it seems like night crew was kind of creeping every day a little bit earlier. So I still got to enjoy some night crew stuff, which was nice. What about you, MC?
So I celebrate real Wizrobe hours every night, no matter if there's Zeldathon or not. But at this, it's weird because while I am definitely at Zeldathon, I've been really about the midnight to 4 a.m. time period. That's where I've always thrived. Everyone, I just want to admit to you all, my Pokemon Go Plus is going to tell me to go to bed before midnight tonight, and that's a usual thing for me now. I used to be a go to sleep at 3 a.m. person. No more. I need my Pokemon sleep, my friends, and yeah, that's been a thing for like all year. So I may be Wizrobe in my heart, but I feel like my day crew days are coming. Honestly, it's upon us.
Very good. What about you, Maeve?
So with Zeldathon, I tend to be day crew, and even like the morning side of day crew. So it was weird because in my day-to-day life, I do actually tend to go to bed pretty late and favor sleeping in. But with Zeldathon, I always just really enjoy this energy of like the 6 a.m. to noon or so range, where I think a lot of people think I think historically it's had a lot of low energy connotations, but I think this marathon, actually there was a lot going on in the morning, and I think it's really fun to bring that sort of energy to the early morning and like actually like maintain the hype through the morning. Like I remember when I got up early for Sudoku, we had like Sudoku, and then we had like emo song hour at 5 a.m, which was a very strange hour to have emo hour at, but like it worked.
It's very good.
Yeah, and it worked really well. And just I think I love bringing energy to the morning, so that's why I'm a morning crew person.
And Segment's team loves that. Thank you for volunteering to do mornings. That's
of
excellent.
Course.
All the scheduling is so much better when we have lots of folks that we don't have to beg. There were a few times of like, hey, the social media shift at 4 a.m. needs some love. Can someone please volunteer?
Yeah, I took a social media shift from Maria at one point, and I actually had fun doing that. So
yeah. Oh, and we watch MC. Tim Cook has relinquished his grasp. All right, yeah. Duck. What about you? Day or night?
This is weird because I've done both. In all of my in-person marathon experiences prior to Echoes, I was always a morning person. I worked like a 6 a.m. job, so I was happy to be the guy who got up at 5. I walked in the room and said, "Who needs to go to bed? I will relieve you." But this past marathon Echoes, I had a game at 5:40 in the morning, and I was like, you know what? For once, I'm gonna have fun and just stay up all night and get used to staying up all night, so I can stay up all night for my segment. And I gotta say, night crew is more fun. I had a lot more fun on night crew. I don't mind being that relief person. I don't mind coming in and saying, "Hey, who needs to go to bed?" But boy, I had a lot of fun this marathon, and most of it was happening at like 3-4 in the morning.
Yeah, it definitely gets a little slapstick, a little like, don't tell MC, but we're gonna get a little wacky.
I just gotta say, by the way, I do hope that like our goal is to basically make it so all around the clock the marathon's going, because like some people are like, oh, it's Zeldathon after dark. I'm like, you realize there are kids waking up right now in Europe that that it is not after dark for them.
Impressionable youths.
Oh no!
It
Yeah.
is Saturday morning cartoon hour, and you're out here wanting to be Zeldathon after dark. We don't do that. Well, so I'm trying. That's the environment I'm trying to encourage personally. That said,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
never
fair.
there at 8 a.m., so I don't know what happens. So I hope it's fun. Please have fun.
Excellent. Oh, yeah, we'll ask Clinkit. It'll be fine. All right, Grant, round us out. Day or night crew?
I think spiritually I am night crew. Like in my heart I am night crew, but I think I'm starting to get to the point, like age-wise, where I can't physically do it anymore. Or, it's slowly approaching there, because I think the latest I stayed up was like at 3 the entire marathon, and that was like once. So as much as I enjoy hanging out and with people, with the rest of night crew, and enjoy all of the shenanigans that happen, I think as I get older and older, it becomes less and less feasible for me to actually participate in that during the marathon, which is why we have VODs. So whenever a video team gets those put up, I'm gonna just binge those.
Oh, I've been going through the highlights on the channel already to like, make sure that I'm giving out my game keys properly, and I was looking up some hostages info to prepare for a hostages question coming up. So those are there if you want those. But yes, you can wait for our incredible video team to put together actual like sliced up VODs of each game individually, and those will end up on our YouTube channel. All right, we have a question from Halsane here. What was the learning process like in terms of refamiliarizing yourselves with all the tech stuff after not having a marathon for a year? And I'd like to start with Legos Jedi, who put together a very cool rack for us. So we had to familiarize ourselves with some new tech stuff anyway.
Yeah, I think for this marathon, it wasn't that bad. I think the marathons where this was more of an issue were uh Ascent and Daybreak, right? The sort of starting to get back to slowly doing in-person marathons. Because that was also like the time that MC started to hand off a lot of like the broadcast responsibilities to broadcast team. So in those kinds of marathons, it was a lot of like knowledge transfer happening, of us kind of looking at whatever documentation that MC had, what other notes that he had put together, to get an understanding of how we were doing marathons up until that point, so that we could then, pick up the reins and take it from that point forward. This marathon, yeah, I don't think it was really that bad. We also had some help, because at the end of Daybreak, we did like a full inventory of all of our gear, which is not really something that we had before. And so even if we hadn't had a marathon for like a year, we still had, we still had a couple marathons under our belt from doing that handoff from MC to broadcast team, but we also had that full inventory of all the gear that we had, so we can know where our gaps were, where we needed to like supplement our gear with other gear that we need to purchase or rent or have attendees bring or what have you. So I don't think it was really that bad, this marathon, compared to some of the previous ones.
Yeah, definitely. We had more than a year gap between Forces and Ascent. So there definitely is a lot more like growing pains there. And also like the blossoming of our broadcast team having to figure out how to do an entirely remote marathon for all of our side
Yeah.
quests. So
Yep.
definitely great points there. All right, what do you think, Basunify?
With me, it's not so much like the tech that I'm using, but more of the context that it is in and where I'm sending it to for what purposes. I use like a lot of the X32 product stuff in my usual live sound and streaming gig that I have. And it's all very similar, but here I need to be thinking more of, okay, when I send off the finished audio, it's being passed on for other things, and there's other things that need to be routed to the archive, maybe to a computer that's going to Zoom. And then how do we communicate with broadcast? I'm not a broadcast person, I'm a live sound guy, and I need to always think of like, what can we do to make things easy and effective so that we can, we're in one room, they're in another room. What can I do to try and help so that we transition correctly? And those are things that I always kind of have to get back in the mindset of.
Gotcha. What about you, MC? Anything to add?
Oh, I have something very wonderful to add. So because I transferred a lot of the broadcast duties to Legos Jedi, Luke Zumicki, and Basoonify, and the rest of broadcast team, I now am able to walk into tech room and not know how to operate something, and I have to learn. This has not happened before. Usually I'm like, oh, you need to know where that RCA cable goes. I know exactly where it goes, and none of you do. It's my secret formula. And now they're like, well, it goes here because it's labeled, and it's been labeled like this for 5 months. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess you did know. And then I walk and I'm like, hey, that's a cool PTZ camera. How does this joystick work? How do I do presets and stuff? And I get taught, and it's like, cool video matrix. How do I put stage timer on the monitor in music area that's currently showing program monitor? And Lego Star is like, well, you go here, hit this button, I'm like, mm-hmm. And he's like, all right, bye. And then he walks away, and I forget everything he said, and I just wait for him to come back in 12 hours to fix it for me. That's how broadcast tech has changed at Zeldathon, where I used to have the secret Krabby Patty formula, and now I don't even know how to eat a hamburger. So
yeah, the director
I like
team
it.
has done a great job ever since was it Forces, I think, is whenever we started having leads and a lot more delegation.
It was
so
around then, but it really kicked off once we got into the pandemic. Like, we were already thinking about it, but it was during the pandemic that we really we're like, well, we got some extra time. I guess we better sort this stuff out. And yeah, but by the time Ascent and Daybreak started to happen, that's when it all smoothed out.
Yeah, I used to volunteer for tech shifts, and I can't anymore. I've been outstripped. My knowledge is very, very weak and small.
We can teach
maybe
you.
next
Grant
time.
can teach you. I cannot.
The royal we, that means Grant. All right. Our next question is from Anonymous, asking, what new things did you learn during Echoes? Let's start with you, Maeve.
Yeah, so I in the past marathons, I spent a lot more time on camera. I think I had done some tech shifts, some audio shifts, but at Daybreak, I was on a producer, entertainer kind of rotation. So I was spending a lot of time on camera. I think this is the first marathon I didn't do a game, actually. And so I kind of stepped back a little and focused on hanging out behind the scenes and doing audio, working with Basoonify, doing a lot of music stuff, spending a lot of time in the music room and putting together stuff there. And so it was a lot of just learning more of what goes on the back end of Zeldathon, and kind of just learning that I really enjoy being on that end of the marathon. And I think one thing I really love about Zeldathon behind the scenes is that there's a lot of opportunities for people just learn. People can ask hey, I'm interested in this shift or this part of the marathon. Can I just watch you do it? And you tell me a little bit about what you're doing. And people will usually be like, yeah, okay. And so I think that's just one thing I really enjoy about Zeldathon.
Yeah, having a shadow role, I think, would be very, not Shadow Temple, but with a W, but having someone be able to learn in the field, essentially, how to
I go over to the
something
microphone and I read the donations as they come in. What else do you need to know? That's my shadow.
Yeah, that's something that
thank you, Shadow.
broadcast wants to do for next marathon. Is we've got a lot of great tech that makes it so that we can put on this event, in the just basic way of okay, we can stream a thing up to Twitch, but also in the we can do zany things with PTZs and green screens and blah blah blah, whatever stuff, is trying to take all of that gear and make it so much more approachable and user friendly, so that you don't have to grab me or grab Luke or grab Lucata or whoever and be like, hey, can you set this thing up for us? And a lot of that's going to be various bits of automation. We might have to write some custom software or something, but like I said with the green screen earlier, if we can get it set up so that you can just walk up to the computer that controls the video switcher and be like, I am going to do news in the noon or whatever, and I need an animated video backdrop that is the stereotypical news background type of thing, then you just be like, I bet the video, I can drag it here and it puts it into a source that the video switcher consumes, and then I press a button and oh, the green screen is active and that's in the background and now I'm good to go, and you don't have to be like, hey, can you like come do this for me, and just make it a lot more self-service in a way, to like really facilitate people doing bits and people having fun with it, and making the Zeldathon that we all know and love just better.
Yeah, there were definitely a few times where we were like, "Can we get a Zoom on this?" And like someone had to grab, I think you or Lucata, and be like, "Please, please teach us in the moment. Like we need to learn." So,
Billy,
yeah, if everyone is sort of,
Billy,
Billy, we need you. Yeah, so definitely like if everyone is fully armed, I think that would help. For me, what I learned the most is the producer role that I mentioned sort of in the introduction. Like, so that was my first time doing this. I can admit that I never actually signed up for it initially. I think I signed up to be entertainment, but then the directors, I think MC reached out to me and was like, "Hey, we need another producer, but like, do you mind like signing up for that?" And I was like, "Fine, like let's do it, let's try it, let's see what happens." And had a ton of fun with it. Very much just like running around with your head on fire. If you're like, oh, there's people that are ready to get dunked, we need to get Grant ready, we need to get some water in those buckets, we need to get the dunker like prepared to make sure they aren't wearing socks and stuff like that, and like it's just lining up everything and making sure the event runs like properly. And like it's not the tech side of things, it's just like what's on your screen and what you see, and like making it happen. Like, oh, they need to go to news in the noon, like, okay, so we need to make sure tech knows that they're going to go over to the green screen. We need to make sure Zach Teep changes out of those green pants so that his pants don't disappear. All of that kind of stuff. And then we
Actual
had the
thing that
PAs,
happened behind the scenes.
yeah, real thing that happened that we can't share with you. And like the PA needs to go fetch some scissors, so like who's my PA, let me check the schedule, like all that kind of stuff. And it was a lot of fun and very much a learning experience. So Clinket is saying I'm not allowed to do tech, actually. I have to keep producing. So we'll see about that. All right, our next question comes in also from Anonymous, asking, what would you have done differently knowing how things went this marathon? What do you got for us, Duck?
I think I'm going to be speaking for Clinket a little bit, because me and Mel prioritized the things we did, and I think we should have. But there's a lot of decorative foam work that needed done that got put off from setup day into day one, and then we had a thunderstorm roll in, and so none of that could get painted or get cut because we can't cut it inside because it's foam, and the way you cut foam is you melt it. And so like the door frame was we had a whole foam board that we were going to cut out a frame for and decorate it, make it look just like the dungeon walls, and none of that got done because we had a thunderstorm morning of day one. So yeah, if we had the foresight of it is definitely going to rain on day one, we probably would have at the very least grabbed some volunteers to get started on that stuff on setup day, instead of putting it off for day one.
Yeah, definitely like a learning experience. Like, you have to do the things outside, like as soon as you have the good weather for it, I guess. And then anything else that can be done
I think
inside
that would have been the way to go.
Yeah. All right. How about you, MC?
So there's some stuff that like everyone's saying in the chat, like not updating Windows, and like I'm sure the Bassoon Fight's going to talk about like crackle solutions or whatever. But like, honestly, what would have helped me the most this last marathon was sleeping more before the marathon. I did not have good sleep before the marathon. I was out doing stuff. I was going, and it hit me hard the entire marathon. I still feel bad for a lot of times. Like usually I'm able, like when I get up for the day, I'm able to go like a full 16 hours and then go to sleep. This marathon, I had a lot of moments of just being like messaging Clinket or the other directors and just being like, I'm going away for 2 hours. I don't have anything to do right now. If something does happen that I need to do, you can call me and message me. But if you can't take care of it, that'd be the greatest thing right now, because I was just zonked. I was zonked the entire time. So, and I wanted to make sure that when it was Wizrobe hours or when I had to like be doing a run, that I was on. So energy conservation was a hard thing for me this entire marathon.
Gotcha. Understandable. That's hard to
Hamburger
predict.
MC. Don't Oh yeah, there may have been a point in the marathon on night 5 where I completely lost my dang mind and wanted to stomp on hand sanitizer, and I got put between the two of the bean bags and just yelled and screamed at people nicely and in a funny way. Yeah, I lost my dang mind on night 5.
Don't we all?
Yeah, honestly. All right. What about you, Legos Jedi? What would you have done differently?
I mean, all of the tech issues. If you can know about the tech issues beforehand, then you can like better prepare for them. The big ones that come to mind, obviously, the crackle, which like we had a solution for in that we had all the gear on hand to have a solution for, and if we knew this was going to be a problem, we could have just wired that solution up from the beginning. Um, the problems with the mobile cam, as much as I loved that we had it, if I had known that we were going to have so many issues with the video transmission system, I would have got a different system. I would have tried to get one that was a little bit more expensive, a little bit better, that probably would have worked in our conditions better. And that's just basically all it comes down to is like, man, if I had known that, X, Y, and Z, these text issues would have come up during the marathon, then I would have, done what I could ahead of time to try to mitigate those issues and get workarounds or, get better gear to help, ensure that they don't have it in the first place. But the best you can do is like, okay, we've learned now, and we know like this
Yeah.
is what we need, and so like we can go into next marathon, with the sort of workarounds and the mitigations in place so they don't happen again.
Yeah, definitely. Like you have the hindsight and you've prepared for
Yeah.
these issues, and then next marathon we'll have 10 new tech issues that we'll have to work
Exactly. The cycle never ends.
Yeah. Always something new. All right. And what about you, Basunify? What would you have done differently?
So it kind of comes from thinking about upcoming event that we have coming up that I'll be helping out with audio, and we're looking at the venue, and I can just hear the slap reverberation echoes of this wooden empty room, and I'm like, what am I going to do with the solution of trying to capture everything and make it sound clear? And then I started looking into some live sound applications, and I ran into this piece of software called Waves Super Rec, and I ended up like subscribing to a lot of the Waves plugins and moving to that dark side with their new subscription plan everyone's mad about. But I was like looking at it, and basically it's a way to, you're not like, what I'm using the boards as Zeldathon, the X32 boards, you're limited to, their compressor, their gate, their EQ, and the 8 effects that you can load up, and that's it, for them maybe being parallel processing effects. And I was like, oh, well, wait, I can use my own computer to send everything to my computer and then send it back. And there's a bunch of very low latency noise cancellation, audio clarity type stuff, even like some vocal writing to keep things within a target level. And then like realizing, I was like, oh, how can I make this work with Zeldathon? And then like realizing we had everything for this to work with Zeldathon. I could just push these buttons and it would have worked. And also I can set up my laptop ahead of time so I can already come to Zeldathon with effects chains already prepared. And I was like, oh wow, things would have been a lot easier. But now I know, and next marathon's gonna be really, really good.
Awesome.
I love
Awesome.
it.
Love to hear that. All right. Our next question also comes in from Anonymous asking, what do you think was the best addition to this marathon? What do you think, Duck?
Oh, I have to say our guests and our new attendees, that we everyone was incredible. I started when I pre-wrote a couple of my answers just to make sure I had like good thoughts, for these kinds of questions. And I started calling people out, and I realized it was almost everybody who was invited, and I didn't want to leave anybody out. But just all of our new attendees and guests were incredible and contributed so much. There's definitely people who, they stayed in their lane and they did their thing, but they did it so excellent. And then there's other people who came and they did their thing that they came to do, and then they also jumped into everything else and were, being entertaining, and were also helping behind the scenes, and just like it was so wonderful to see that everybody was contributing so much. And yeah, so I 100%, the best thing we added was the new people we brought on.
Yeah, you
Good
can definitely
answer, good
tell
answer.
whenever. Yeah, you stole my answer. But like the scheduling teams, yeah, it was like, if no one says this, I'll say this at the end. But like, yeah, like we specifically like don't give any shifts to a first time attendee to make sure that they can enjoy themselves and figure out the flow. And then sometimes they still do everything, and they still like help out so much, like, and they'll do anything else that isn't even shifted work, and they'll just help out so much, and so many of them did. And that's just always cool to see. And special shout out to finally getting to do a marathon with the Zelda Universe people. They were excellent too.
Yes, I actually I
All
was
right,
literally about
MC.
to shout them out because they helped on Teardown Day, which it's so nice to see people actually help with the post marathon
you.
stuff. So many people,
Yeah.
leave the last day, and then it's like, oh, there's only a handful of us, but they stuck around and helped us put stuff away, which is great.
Yeah, definitely. All right, MC, what do you think is the best edition?
So, my answer is weird because I'm thinking about potential. So this time around, we gave the shifts names based on Zelda enemies. Like I've been yelling and screaming about Wizrobes, but we also had the Goombas, the Lorts, and the Dark Nuts, and what were the other two?
Molduga, I think, was 8
Dongas?
a.m.
Moldorms.
Or no.
Yeah, the Moldorms.
Moldorms.
And there was one more.
And Dodongos?
The Dongos.
And the Dongos,
Dodongos.
right. And we didn't really lean into them that much. And during setup or like during our pre-event meeting, I made sure that everybody know, like, hey, we want to give a little bit of identity to these shifts, but we don't want it to be like a competition thing. There was attempt for Goombas to fight the Wizrobes, but that was I stomped that one out because I didn't like that. But I do like the idea of people, like, when they have these shifts at the marathon, I like them to have a little bit of like identity and like feel proud of like the part that they are a part of, and like be like, I'm a Wizrobe, I'm a Dodongo, like woo, and like feel it and like kind of like get into that a little bit. And that I think can really lead to a lot for the future of the marathon, honestly, in terms of like, I want to bring back Wizrobe TV. I would love to do more Wizrobe TV bits that we like kind of started playing with here. And I feel like it's hard because there's always so much going on in Zeldathon, so there's not always space for that. But I also feel like there is room for each shift to kind of have their own fun little identity going on, and theming it around a Zelda enemy is just funny. I don't know. I just think there's a lot of potential there. My real answer is probably what Duck said, but I'm thinking about the potential of the future, and I think there's something there. I don't know. This might not happen for like 5 marathons, but I think you're going to see it develop in time.
Awesome. Yeah, maybe that's the thing I would change about what I did, knowing what I know now, is maybe I shouldn't have named mine Lorts, because no one knows what that is, and we should have stayed the bubbles. And then we could have done something bubble themed. So maybe that's what I'll do next time. All right, what about you, Basunify? What's the best addition, you think?
For me, it was the layout. It was this perfect triforce of 3 key areas: tech room, security desk, and wellness team. Tech room being in this almost like war room setup where you could walk in. There were tables, you could collaborate, you could be loud and not be heard. It felt like you could always just go in, and there was always, of course, people on their shifts, but other people there working and collaborating, and there was always someone to help you out with a bit or whatever. The security desk is like right there outside of the mainstream area. And I remember like Zeldathon's past, oh, great event is done. Everyone just kind of scatters, and it's just this very quiet area with like, the middle of the room with the setup and the tech desk. And then there's someone stuck on tech until 4 a.m. because no one's there to relieve them. And I don't know, you just walk outside the room. There's just always people on security desk, and they're always there. If you just want to chill and hang out, or I need someone to do bit with me, please. Like, it just kept everyone really close, and just so close to the tech room too. So like there was just always this easy to work flow area. And then I don't know, wellness team was just like, I don't know, I felt very cared for, like, with wellness team. They did a fantastic job, and having like that whole chill area always just so well stocked with things. You didn't need to run out and try and cross the dangerous USA streets of trying to go to the 7-Eleven or whatnot and go to wherever the sheets may be. And then like, it was so close, and it was just like this little triangle area that, like, I don't know, it just felt like because of that, it allowed for this environment of happy people together that were able to collaborate really well. And I feel that to me that was the biggest key thing that allowed everything to happen.
Yeah, I think it definitely like fostered a lot of what you said. Like it was well laid out, like in a very sensible way, which really helped compared to how we did it at Daybreak, which was a little more like kind of secluded. I think the couch was at the far end, and I think security was at a different spot as well. Shout out to security. Like honestly, that area should have some more tables. I think because that is like kind of the hangout. It could be like chill room part two, because like everyone's like just keeping the security person who has to be their company, which is very nice of them. All right, and Legos Jedi. What about you?
I mean, I'm broadcast team, so I have to say, basically all of the new tech that we brought in this marathon, we had so many new things that we tried. The PTZs was like a new thing that essentially prototyped to see how it would go. The mobile cam rig was the thing that we basically prototyped to see how it would go. The projectors and to see how it would go and see how all of these things, the kind of impact that they would have on the marathon and like what sort of things do they enable, what sort of bits, what sort of weird shenanigans do they enable by having these things available to us. I think they really added a lot to the marathon this time around. And the other thing being the new racks that we have for a lot of our gear, because we've gotten to the point where so many different pieces of gear that we have are now just pre-set up. They're just in cases and everything is like pre-connected to each other, so we just have to roll them out and just take off the fronts and the back covers and then start plugging things in and we're good to go. I think that's has so far enabled like a level of efficiency for us on setup day that we didn't have previously. I feel like we got to the point where we were ready to go and start doing things, that we had the racks all set up and we're like, okay, we can start like laying down cables and like we don't have to like get a computer set up and get like a whole bunch of monitors set up and like pull things out of boxes and get those set up in tech room. That we got to the point that it was like, okay, now we just need to wait for like the other spaces to start getting together a little bit more before we can start doing things with tech. So I think just a lot of the new gear and stuff just really were some really good additions this marathon, and I'm looking forward to bringing back a lot of that stuff next marathon and continuing to try to push the envelope and be like, okay, what's the next thing that we can get to try to give us a new bit, or to like just make us more efficient with how we run this marathon and how we set things up and get everything going.
Yeah, how can Legos Jedi continue to stretch the budget?
You're not wrong. What budget?
Yeah, big shout out to Organics as well, our budget person who is very very
I'm
good
sorry,
at,
Rob.
at what
I'm
he
sorry.
does.
It's
All
second
right,
gone.
our
There's
next
no more
question.
budget left. Sorry, Rob. Go on then.
What game, official or homebrew, do you wish was featured at a marathon? And I put my name next to this one because I've definitely brought a lot of new things to the marathon. Tingle 2. I looked through Bookgoblin to make sure I had a whole list, but like I brought color changing Tingle's Balloon Trip of Love. At the time that was only in Japanese, to the marathon, and we've run that now twice, which was very cool. It's a very good game. I brought uh, the Chinese demake of Link to the Past one marathon, which was a lot of fun and probably made people mad that we didn't do a regular run of Link to the Past, but it was still very cool. So I'm definitely a champion of sort of the side games that are weird. But I know that Shoop in the past has like submitted a segment for BS, The Legend of Zelda, the broadcast to Teleview version, which is official and came out in Japan, and has some excellent like homemade translations and stuff, like homebrew translations. And it's very cool. Like it's basically Zelda 1, that's been upres to the Super Nintendo. And then there's also Ancient Stone Tablets, which is like a sequel to Link to the Past, which I think both of those would be very cool to bring. And what about you, Basinify? I see you on here as well.
I really liked the flight simulator segment. I felt like I got to see Jackson in one of his many elements that he is as deranged pilot that's going to make us all fly very safe, right? But I thought it was a great late night segment. I feel like late nights, like really, really late night segments can kind of be that bit of a breather before we start to sprint off again, leading up to that 4 p.m. craziness. And it makes me think, okay, what else can we kind of mod into some things to make them Zelda-ish and still be an okay segment that works? And like I think about the games that I love to play. It's like, oh, what if there was some Zelda content modded into Kerbal Space Program, RimWorld, Crusader Kings, Civ, the stuff that I always play all the time that's not necessarily Zelda. So it made me wonder, what if?
Let's talk about Kerbal Space Program.
Let's do it.
Get so excited.
We'll do a
Let him
race.
cook.
I
Yeah.
played that at Side Quest.
Yeah, we've done like Left 4 Dead too. Monica's brought some Zelda maps to that as well. Like it's very cool to bring sort of tangentially related games like Jackson playing Soul Calibur 2 as Link, or the Sonic Worlds level that is Zelda themed, or the Nintendo Land thing that's Zelda themed. So like all that stuff is, I think, like, hey, segments team here representing, please bring very interesting and unique segment ideas. And if you have to mod something like we did with the flight simulator, like that's cool too.
Dev
Like,
team,
that's
help me
always
mod
excellent.
my favorite games.
Please. Oh, that would be so cool. Yeah, J Artist is definitely a big volunteer for that. I think he helped set up the flight simulator. I added this one kind of late. Does anyone else want to chime in on this one? Okay. We have one here asked by Try This, who says, I really need to know just how last minute was the Oracle of Hostages segment planned. And Maeve, we have the perfect representative here
This was
to
my
talk about that.
favorite. It was so I joined the planning slightly late. If I remember, the reason that this happened was because we were running a bit behind on finishing the credits. So we needed to kind of extend the marathon a little bit. We had already like done that a bit with Tears of the Kingdom, but we needed more. And so I wasn't there for the original conception of the idea, but it was pretty last minute. Like it was like like an hour or two before it was going to happen or something like that. And just grabbing TB because he had played Oracle of Ages in the past. And then I heard it was happening. I was like, I played Oracle of Ages last year. I'll join in on this. And then just setting the donation goals and then just hamming it up with the energy and the energy came afterwards. Like everything that the screaming money, like that came afterwards. So it was barely planned. We made the outline of the segment and then jumped right into it.
I think TB had only like gone back and
phenomenal.
like looked through how to do up to like through the second dungeon. It was like, if we get past this, then I'm gonna need some help.
Yeah. And yeah, it was crazy last minute, but it was such a great segment. It was really bringing late night Zeldathon a little forward into the.
It was really
like 8 p.m.
It was really funny to me because to give even more context, yeah, we needed more time to render the credits. Here's the thing: at that point, we didn't know that Jamie was going to take a little bit longer to beat Ganon than expected. He had a little bit of trouble. So by the time we beat Tears of the Kingdom and there's the credits and the post scene, we were ready. We no longer needed Oracle of Ages, really. Like, Flying didn't mind the extra time, but we no longer needed to do this. But we had already planned it, done a goal, and set it. So I was like, all right, here we go. And the curve to unlock 5 minutes at a time was set so sharply. Like we started with like the desert bus curve of how you unlock an hour of desert bus. And we just jacked that curve up so much, like way higher than they do. And we made it for every 5 minutes, not for every hour.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, the fact that there was more time actually was insane.
Yeah. So I actually in preparation for this question, I went and did some math behind the scenes. And if you want to read the next question, Doug, this ties into this.
Me too. But yeah, we can segue perfectly into our next question here, which is very related. But just asking, were you fully prepared for the possible edge case scenario of someone dropping $100,000 during Oracle of Hostages to keep the stream going for another 10 hours?
Yeah.
And
so the stats for the segment
here.
are that
Yeah,
the stats for the segment are that we raised about $4,000 during it, and that got us, I think, 35 minutes of Oracle of Ages.
Something like that.
So,
Yep.
and so, Doug, you pull up your spreadsheet and tell us what you have discovered.
Yeah, I wish I could share my screen here, but no, it was done truly like exponential curve style. And Clinkett even said on stream when people were asking like the same kind of question, like, you know, how long can we keep this going? And Clinkett like sort of came to the side and was like, so what's your PB, TB? Teeb, what's your peeve? But just asked like, hey, how long would it take you to finish this game, like under kind of ideal circumstances? And he was like, oh, it's 8 hours it would take me. And she was like, okay. And then type. That would cost $8 octillion. That was literally that would
Yeah.
end the global economy if you got all of Oracle of hostages unlocked.
If
There wouldn't be
8
a water,
people in chat
like,
donated
problem
$100 million right now, we'd be at our goal.
I tell you what,
Yeah,
we
so-
were prepared for that edge case if someone donates $100,000 because, yeah, it's being sent in chat by Stone Money. That could be 2 hours. For $100,000 extra to the charity, we'll stream another 2 hours. Teardown Day is tomorrow. Yeah, we want to go eat. We want to go sleep. We want to like stop the marathon. But for $100,000, I think there would be nobody in that hotel who would say, 2 more hours. We can't do that. Of course we can. You know, we can tear down faster. We're gonna throw things away. It's fine. You know, for $100,000.
The energy in that room was just the energy in the room was peak. We were all yelling. We were like fighting to be able to read the donations
bleed over
and like spin the wheel.
The bleed over of Goblin mode from the Goblin music segment to that segment.
Yes.
Anthony and I were
was.
kind of in the back of the couch room, just like watching it and just like losing our minds. Like every time a new 5-minute like increment came up, we were like, "Oh my!" Like it's happening. It was so cool. Like we really bonded in that moment because it was just like the bit. It's working. Like it's incredible. It was the velocity of donations was
I also
so
think
powerful.
one funny thing that happened is Jardis kept on donating, and MC was like, "Where's Jardis? I'm gonna
Yeah.
take him."
So
I went out
Jardis
to the
shared this
security
last
desk
night.
and I yelled at him. I was like, "Stop donating! I want to sleep."
A thing that has never been said in the history of Zeldathon.
I was right there with Jay, and yeah, just the doors burst open, and there's MC, and he goes, "Where's Jay?" And he's right there, and he goes, "I want to go to bed."
Well, yeah, and that's something they talked about some yesterday when they asked this question. Our only question we'll ask twice for both Q&As. But what was your favorite behind the scenes moment that we might have missed this marathon? And that's definitely one that came up yesterday because MC burst out of the tech room and was like, where is Jardis? And then went and yelled at him because Jardis was kind of helping carry the bit and making sure we got some more minutes. But let's go. Legos Jedi. What was your favorite behind the scenes moment?
Oh boy. So I actually played an instrument for a music segment, which I hadn't like planned on doing at all. And it was like the last like transition of the marathon, and I was like, you know what, I'm not doing anything. I'll play drums if they want me to play drums. And so was involved in like the whole, you know, Goblin Hour ham train, you know, shenanigans there. But then we started doing like everybody like started climbing up on chairs like towards the end of it, I think during Poor Unfortunate Souls, and started doing this like the sort of like just like bobbing up and down motion. And I was like, okay, everybody else is doing it. I have to like get into this and try to get up on the drum throne to participate. But I got like 1 foot up there and
That
tried
thing
to
was
balance
not
and was
stable.
like, no, this isn't happening. Tried to get down, but had too much force going into it and fell, like kept just going. Almost hit the projection screen and took out the projection screen, but angled myself to not. But hit the one panel on the set that was like next in front and started to cause a domino effect of all of the panels in music space.
Go back, watch the bot. It's
managed to get-
there.
It's there. I don't know how you can make it out because it's
yeah.
all like black and dark back there. So maybe you can see
Yeah,
everybody
so it's hard
rushing
to
to be like, oh shoot, this is happening. Somebody catch these panels so we don't like completely destroy set. So I grabbed one. Gannon was in front of me playing bass, and he grabbed another one. And I think maybe you ran over at some point too, right?
Yeah, because I was standing on my chair playing violin, so I couldn't go fast enough to get one. So I had to like get off, put down everything, and then go and help. Like it I don't know if I don't think we got any other angles of that incident,
No, I don't think
unfortunately,
so.
but it was supremely funny and a little bit panic-inducing. I'll be
Just a little
funny
bit.
after the fact. In the moment, panic-inducing.
Yep.
Amazing.
Being fully honest.
Oh,
For
boy.
me, during Triforced Heroes, another shout out to Organics for lending me his laptop. But like I was doing the bit of playing Zelda's Adventure on the side, and I did finish Zelda's Adventure during that eventually. At one point, I did have Food Dude queued up and ready, and if I had been called, I think a fourth time, I would have like run Food Dude. But what nobody got to see that we were just chuckling about at the security desk was that the laptop was on battery, so it didn't. It didn't have full
Oh, yeah.
charge or anything, and we also had Chrome open. So eventually the game started to lag a little bit, and then I guess MAME is it's a smart program and it knows that it's behind, so it tries to catch up. So it would be very, very like imperceptibly slower than it should be, and then suddenly for 1 second it would be lightning speed. It was like I was running around the screen. I would like the screen transitions were so fast. I was like, yo, we need to figure out how to do this on purpose for speedrun tech. But it made the game so much harder. But I was just like losing my mind, and like finally Grant came over. I was like, what's going on? And I showed, and he was like, oh my god, like this is unplayable. So it was just a silly thing that wasn't recorded, no one saw, was off screen, but it was very funny, and everyone that did get to witness it was big chuckling back there. All right, before we kind of wrap up here, we have a couple more questions. But does anyone hands up if you have a funny behind the scenes thing? Because we did just add this one last minute again as well.
I mean,
right.
my personal
Excellent.
was probably Ibsy busting out and yelling at Jay, but a very good bit that nobody got to see was during Triforce Heroes also. Liz hid underneath a table, and then she didn't get called again, and she just stayed under there for like 30, 45 minutes, something like that.
Can I add context?
Yeah. MC, go ahead. Continue.
Yeah, I crawled under there to go see what was up with Liz, and she was doing a word search. And so I was like, "Hey, this is great!"
Living her best life.
So I got under
Just
there with
vibing.
her, and but it was just my legs sticking out, but it was me and Liz doing a word search under there.
And several people, 2 or 3 people came and like poked their heads under and checked on you, and you just yelled at you, "Get out! Director word search going on."
This director business. This is an official director meeting. I was like, we get cranky here, but you think it's working right now. Campy's not here either.
There was also, they mentioned it yesterday. Oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I also thought of one from Triforce Heroes actually, which is that I think I came on like acting like I had just they had woken me up, and I was like wrapped in a blanket. And the reason we did that is because I had actually overslept on a nap that was supposed to be 90 minutes and went to 4 hours. And then like rushed downstairs because I was like, I'm sorry, I'm late for Triforce Heroes. They were like, no, just like pretend we just woke you up, and that's a good bit. But they actually had woken me up. So
that whole segment was so much like off-camera content, honestly, of everyone like cooking up their bits and like seeing like just looking around the room like where's Waldo, and seeing like people poking from like behind like furniture and like a leg sticking out from under a table and stuff like that. It was very funny. And one that they talked about in yesterday's Q&A, but in case you missed it, there was also the Gremlin train, which we've talked about a few times, that they didn't know when they were getting cut off, so they didn't get cut off. But we were sitting on couch ready to continue Tears of the Kingdom, and we were like, what do we do? So like I went out, and the directors were talking to Anthony, the rep from Charity Water, outside. And I was like, hey, like, should we cut them off? And MC was like, they're still going. And then Klingit sprinted inside and then like.
Well, I checked my phone after like 15 minutes. I tuned into the stream after like 15 minutes, like from the break. Like we cut to the music segment. I was like, I'll go talk to Anthony. 15 minutes go by. I check it. I'm like, oh, they're still going, but it is about 15 minutes. I'm sure they'll be done soon. Let's continue our conversation. And then another 15 minutes goes by. But before that's when Doug pops out, and like, we had no idea. We thought they were just having a just like about the wrap,
Yeah. So another incredible bit. All right, we have one here from Leolite, and I guess this one's also for you, MC and Duck. For those who experienced dunking, what was your reaction to being soaked? Was it cold or refreshing?
It was warm.
MC?
The water was warm
Yeah, it was
because it was
pretty
outside for
warm
at
outside.
least for
Yeah.
mine. It was just surprise. It was surprising, even though you knew it was coming. It was fine. I enjoyed it, honestly. I mean, the worst part is like you suddenly had to like figure out, all right, I have to go get in the elevator, still very obviously damp, next to members of the armed forces who were there for a different conference, and just be like, and just pretend
Yeah.
like you're not, like you just jumped in a pool that doesn't exist on Jupiter.
Yeah, there's no pool at
Awesome.
this hotel. Yeah,
There's a
No,
secret
no.
pool, apparently, and it's the dunk tank.
yeah. Me and Mel tried to keep buckets full and on standby because we ended up doing dunks usually in batches. So yeah, it would sit out all day and usually was actually decently warm. I think the thing that got me, which several people said this, but until it happened, you didn't really like get it, is it lasts a lot longer than you think. Because it's a 5-gallon bucket and all the water is coming out of a toilet flapper about yay big, and it takes a while for 5 gallons to drain through that amount of space. So you're standing there and you're like, it should be over soon, and then another 10 seconds passes before it finally ends. But yeah, it was like MC said, the awkward figuring out, I have to get to my hotel room now while I'm soaked.
I really liked also that everyone had kind of their own style to getting dunked. Like Jiggy plugged it with his head, and like Campy did a big squat, and like MC was just like screaming the entire time. Like everyone had their own style. It was excellent.
The Skippy waterboarded himself. He looked straight into it and just took it in the face.
Oh my goodness. That's incredible.
I think nothing will be a more perfect description of the dunk tank than the very first dunk we had of, I think, was it Peyton or Elias that dunked
Elias
first?
was first.
Elias, yeah.
Elias got dunked first, and they said, "How do you feel?" And he said, "Wet."
Yeah.
It's a great clip.
Yes, and TB forgot to take his socks off
poor TB.
as well, which was incredible. All right. We have one final non-panel question, and then we'll finish up with a panel question for everyone. But here we go. Asked by Seth E. again. Thank you for your question. Why was Zeldathon created, and do y'all still follow that original goal / reason? MC, once again, please.
I'll answer this in a couple of ways real quick. It was created because I saw the Speed Gamers doing a charity event in 2009, and I was like, that's cool. I want to do that. And that was why it was created, because I wanted to do that. And so I got a friend. I was like, Zach, come over to my house. We're gonna play a game. And but then we added in the charity thing, because that's what TSG was doing. And do we all still follow that original goal and reason? Kind of. I would say we've added one thing like major. Like we have some of our own like goals and visions of what we want Zeldathon to be. But the one thing I'll go back to when I'm talking to the team is like our goals for the event itself. Like when we're there, just like getting started, is we want to have a fun time, everybody together, just hanging out, begin to see our friends, begin to, make funny stuff happen for us, including stuff that doesn't happen on camera. We want to raise money for the charity. And the thing that I think we add on that wasn't really in the original event was we want to put on a good show. In the first one, it wasn't really about let's put on a good show. It was about let's play games and charity. And as time has evolved, we've also now added in that part where it's like, even if we raise nothing, I still want to have 144 hours of good content. I want us to be out there having a fun time. I want us to entertain with things like the Pura Pad and just putting on fun runs. So do we still follow that original goal? Yes, but I think we've added in the element of it's okay if we don't raise for charity. We'd like to, but we also just want to make a good program for everybody to watch. Good program. The TV show is a movie.
Yeah, we have our motto, our catchphrase, right?
What's our catchphrase?
Right, MC? Helping others by playing games, right?
Oh yeah, that one, sure. I didn't. Did I come up with that one? I don't know. It appeared on the website one day. I don't know where it came from. Yeah,
On the website.
That's fine. I like that one. Sure.
All right. Well, I tried to give you a layup there.
Sorry.
But I'm also I'm bad at basketball. Don't worry. I probably missed. All right. Our final question, and
That's the one I was
something that
thinking about.
I would love to see. I would love to see Chad participate too. But what is everyone's go-to Zeldathon prop? What is the first thing you reach for whenever, like, the pad tells you to get a funny prop? And we'll just go in order again. So sorry, Basunify.
Oh my
With
gosh,
your
I'm
blank
never on
expression.
camera. Whatever iPad the mixer's on, I guess.
Oh, good. Okay. Then you didn't take mine.
The ancient iPad that still used the ancient iPad that still uses the old thick Apple connector from the music
The
room.
thicker,
Oh,
the
dear.
sicker.
So true. I'm always saying that.
I like the plunger. I thought you were going to go straight for the plunger, Basunify. That's
No,
usually
someone
my go-to.
else does it. I may be the one to take the plunge, but I am not the plunger.
You're the canvas for the plunger.
Indeed.
All right, MC, what do you got?
The Declaration of Independence. If you didn't see that bit during the marathon, it happened during Aerith's run of Ocarina of Time. I'm so glad the Declaration of Independence is back on prop table where it belongs.
Yeah, not in a museum in
Awesome.
DC.
Yeah.
It belongs in a museum. All right, Maeve, what do you got?
I also wasn't on camera much this marathon, but I think my go-to is Ruben the Rat. I asked to put him on my stand during Jam Train. I don't think he was that visible, but I love Ruben the Rat. Yeah, I love Ruben.
Ruben's very
What can I say? I'm
popular
a
in
Ruben
the
head.
chat here. Lots of people saying rat and dropping rat emotes. Awesome. All right, what about you, Duck?
The prop I got the most use out of this marathon. I'm skewing this a little bit. The prop I got the most use out of this marathon was the Snorlax. Was that yours, MC? I think that was yours.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it was on back couch for whenever I jumped on for Ganon's Wind Waker bit. And the last couple days of the marathon, the room got progressively colder. So I was holding the Snorlax both to get it on camera and also to use it as a blanket because I was cold. So for several hours, I was just chilling there with Snorlax because he was keeping me warm.
Yeah, there were 2 Snorlaxes, I think, as well. I think Clinket had one too. So
Okay.
very good Pokemon sleep.
MC grabbed it
Stealth
at the
advertising.
store and really influenced like 5 different people to get Snorlaxes.
I was
You're an
influenced by
influencer.
a recent trip to a friend's house, and they had that exact one. I was like, I need that, and so I found it at Target, and I don't know what happened.
My oldest kiddo has the soft one from Pokemon Center. It's very good. It's very good.
Ooh, excellent. Get your Snorlaxes, everyone. All right, Grant, round us out.
I think it's a toss-up for me. I think it's either grabbing an automaton from somewhere and trying to play some kind of tune on it horribly and messing it up, but going in for the bit, or just running to prop table when the time calls for it and grabbing that stop sign and running back to couch. I think we've got a couple of good
very
options
good.
there.
Stop. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you for joining us, everyone. Thank you to the panel here. Thank you to our tech people. Once again, thank you, Luke Zumicki. Thank you, Clinket, for organizing all these questions. Thank you, everyone at home, for watching. Reminder, we do have a Patreon. If you like things like this, if you like events and things like that we put on, please consider becoming a patron. You get lots of very, very cool perks, including your name in the credits that you'll see very soon. As well as a postcard and behind the scenes videos and Q&As and stuff, like special Q&As. You can do this basically every month if you want to. Ooh, look, you see, that's how you do it. Thank you, MC. And check out our merch if you want to represent Zeldathon and start conversations with strangers and spread the word by wearing a cool hat, maybe that is from Controlled Chaos or something like that. You can do that. But for now, I guess we will head out. Thank you again for joining us, and have a wonderful evening and the rest of your week. We'll see you on Sunday for Controlled Chaos.